is among the most ancient instruments of control, and for women, it has been the invisible thread that sews them into the seams of patriarchal systems. Unlike outright force or legislation, shame works quietly through suggestion, social cues, withdrawal of approval, and sacred texts. It teaches women not only how to behave, but how to feel about their behavior. It is emotional surveillance, turning women into their own wardens. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche warned us of this inner prison. In On the Genealogy of Morals, Nietzsche explains how morality is not always born of virtue, but often of resentment, what he calls slave morality. Women, especially under religious patriarchies, are taught to internalize guilt for their own power and natural desires. The bite of conscience, Nietzsche writes, is like a dog biting a stone. It's useless pain, redirected inward instead of outward. The female conscience, shaped by centuries of male doctrine, bites hardest at her own freedom. Aristotle, in contrast, spoke plainly from within the patriarchal tradition. He believed women were inferior by nature, a deformed male, lacking full rationality. In his Politics, he justified the subjugation of women, stating, "The male is by nature superior, and the female inferior, and the one rules, and the other is ruled." For a woman to step outside this hierarchy, shame must follow. Honor for a man is in public recognition. For a woman, it is in retreat, silence, and modesty. Deviate from that, and dishonor awaits. Modern philosopher Silvia Federici gives us a historical lens through which to see this shame more clearly. In Caliban and the Witch, she uncovers how the transition to capitalism required not only a new economic order, but a new discipline of the female body. Shame was weaponized during witch hunts. Midwives, herbalists, women with knowledge or independence were tortured, burned, and smeared with sexual and demonic accusations. The message was clear. Female autonomy is not only dangerous, it is evil. And through shame, that message continues to echo. French philosopher Geneviève Frazé speaks of the way shame operates as a form of erasure. In her work on the exclusion of women from knowledge, she shows how shame has been a gatekeeper in intellectual spaces. Women were shamed for reading too much, thinking too deeply, speaking too publicly. Even today, the mansplaining phenomenon is a watered-down version of this shame, reminding women that too much confidence is a kind of trespass. Then there is Michel Foucault, who did not write directly about gender, but his ideas on discipline and surveillance are essential. In Discipline and Punish, Foucault shows how systems of power embed control through visibility and internalization. The panopticon of patriarchal culture is the ever-present possibility of being judged by men, by other women, and worst of all, by oneself. The modesty checklist in a Mormon youth pamphlet, the sideways glance at a girl's hemline, the phrase, "What will people think?" all are forms of subtle, constant policing. Shame is the tool. Conformity is the goal. In literature, shame echoes too. Nathaniel Hawthorne's The Scarlet Letter reveals how a woman marked by sexual agency is forced to wear her shame on her chest, a literal letter A for adultery. But unlike her Puritan judges, she does not go with her. Her shame becomes a shield. Yet for many women, especially in religious or traditional communities, shame does not elevate, it corrodes. Today, shame still wears many disguises. The Instagram comment calling a mother selfish for working. The church talk praising women who sacrifice careers as more righteous. The inner voice saying she is too loud, too sexual, too ambitious. Shame trains women to believe that choosing themselves is betrayal. that obedience is love, that invisibility is virtue. But as philosopher Caroline Serrato Perez reminds us in Invisible Women, the world is not designed for women's flourishing, and so stepping outside that design often provokes backlash, disguised as morality. The default male is not neutral, she writes. It is a template that distorts everything. To dismantle the systems that rely on shame, women must first name it. Recognize it not as a compass for righteousness, but a leash. Shame, when exposed, loses power. And when women stop apologizing for their anger, for their hunger, for their joy, they begin to taste freedom. As Nietzsche said, he who despises himself still respects himself as one who despises. The question is, what if women no longer despise themselves at all? What if shame, like a snake shedding skin, finally slipped off? What if? Today, we're going to be talking about the secret lives of Mormon wives. Now, I know that many of you are done. You've watched all the episodes, you've moved on. And I have as well, so I get it. But I want to say one more thing about the show and bring some new light into how you can view this in a different way. And I'm speaking to myself because just watching it initially, I immediately took on feelings. But after looking at it and listening to other people and doing a little bit of research, I'm completely viewing it in a different light. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Because what I see are young girls trying to overcome the prison of shame. The shame that has been put upon them by the patriarchal system, as I mentioned, and the inner voice constantly telling them that they have no worth, that they should be invisible, and that they should be happy to be invisible. And that's what we're going to touch on a little bit today. Now, we're going to add some humor. It isn't going to be all serious, but I wanted to start out with a TED Talk that was done by Tim Fletcher. Tim Fletcher is a pastor. And he talks a lot about victimhood, narcissism. And I'm just going to show a little bit of what he had to say in this particular talk that he gave.
Is deep down going on inside of a person with a victim mentality. Deep down, you will always find deep shame issues. They don't feel good enough who they are. They think they're not lovable deep down. And so all of their relationship stuff has been trying to earn love. If I do this for you, will you then love me? So you can always find deep shame issues, and then you will find very deep anger. Not usually doesn't come out as aggressive, as explosive. It's more subtle, passive aggressive type stuff, but there's a ton of anger there. And if it ever does come out, it is scary to watch. So those are characteristics of a person who's slid into a victim mentality. If you've been listening as I've gone through that and you go, wow, that's me, what do I do about it? Because I don't want to stay stuck here. So let me give you a couple tools. Number one, in every situation, we do have choices. Choices that will affect the circumstances or choices that will affect our attitudes. Sometimes we can change our circumstances, sometimes we can't. And in those situations where we can't, we accept them. That's the change of our attitude and figure out how to live within them in a healthy way. But we always have choices.
Okay, so that is a really, look up Tim Fletcher and listen to his complete talk. But I like what he said because if you watch The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, Taylor is the main character, and she has stirred the pot with a lot of the other girls by last season. In fact, I can't even keep them straight. They all look exactly the same. So I have a hard time remembering who's who. But Taylor is the one that came out with the swinging scandal that threw everybody for a loop and brought in things that I don't think was that they were planning on bringing up. But in some of the episodes this last season, it was very obvious that Taylor and her mother, Leanne, are playing the victim role, that Taylor is a victim. And what that comes down to is the shame that Taylor is feeling. And the hardest part of watching this is that I can see a woman who is trying to throw off this mantle of shame, but it is consistently being thrown back onto her, especially by her stepfather. Now, this was an episode, I can't remember exactly which one it was. Okay, this is her stepfather. And in this episode, she's trying to talk to her parents about her boyfriend, Dakota, the father of her child. And she's trying to make them understand that he was lying to her and cheating on her. And the father is listening to the story. And then he says, wait a minute. So he was over here, and then you let him come up to your apartment and you slept with him 3 times in a row. What does that make you? And he immediately put her in the position of being basically a slut and slut shaming her. Like it was her fault that Dakota cheated on her because she allowed him to come up to the apartment to have sex, completely throwing out the idea that Taylor is a young girl with a sexual appetite, just like Dakota. And this is a thinking process that has been thrown on women from time and all eternity. It is if men have an uncontrollable sex appetite, women do not. And that anytime a woman is sexually active, she is a slut, an adulterer, whatever, a loose woman, a whore, all of these things that'll probably get this TikTok banned. But regardless, it is put into a description of evil, temptress, and not just a biological sexual equality with the men. And when I sat there and I watched this stepfather shame her and say, this is your fault. It's your fault that you got pregnant with this man's child because you let him come up and sleep with you. Now, once again, that brings us back to the topic of birth control. Now, I have to ask myself, why wasn't she using birth control? But there again, let's turn that question around. Why wasn't he using birth control? Why is it her responsibility to make sure that she can't get pregnant? And so again, the responsibility is thrown back on her shoulders. She should have rejected Dakota. She should have used birth control. She should have done this. She should have done that. So all of the shame is put on Taylor. Now, just for fun, watch this.
We've done a lot to empower women.
Frick you! I never said that. You're a liar. You're insane. Never. You looked me in the eye and said she had bad extensions. Oh, I just can't believe this.
Hey, did you just touch my wife, bro? No, I didn't just touch her, bro. Own up, dude. I would never do that to another man's wife. But I might have touched her when the 4 of us blindfolded each other and did Eskimo kisses. Oh, I'm about to kick your LDS.
I think I want to be back in mom talk.
I don't think I can handle this.
I really didn't like when you got stripped on by that stripper.
You're so controlling.
Okay, we really need to figure it out though, because we're 23 and we already have 4 kids.
It was one Chippendale.
Things are about to get messy. Brigham.
I thought that was so good. But here's the deal. Let me show you a picture. This is why people are looking at this show and coming up with all of these comments, right? Because we're looking at it from just the silliness of the girls, right? I think she said, but we're empowering women. It's interesting because in their minds, they are empowering women because they're taking those references that I made about shame and they're throwing them off. It's like, you can't judge me about my modesty level. You can't judge me about if I have a job and I'm the sole provider in this family. I'm not going to let you shame me into wearing what I want to wear, being a working mom, sleeping with somebody. You're not going to shame me. You're not going to put that shame on me. So from that standpoint, they think they're empowering women. And the idea is empowering. But the cognitive dissonance and also associating yourself with the patriarchal system that gives you those shaming elements in your brain. And that's where the paradox comes in and the hypocrisy comes in. And I think that's why they're being judged so harshly, because they think they're empowering women and they're saying to the church, I'm a good Mormon and you can't tell me what to wear. But the entire Mormon doctrine is based on shaming women, telling them what they can wear and what their role is and what makes them a righteous woman. That's the entire doctrine of the Mormon church. I know they think they're doing something and I applaud them for that. But I have to tell you, this is me. This is me at basically the same age as Whitney. I'm 32 in this picture, and I have 6 children. We had just moved out into some acreage in Oregon, not far from Mount Hood. And the youngest baby that's sitting on my lap right there, how old do you think he is? He looks like what, maybe 4 or 5 months? He was a little over a year because he was born with severe brain damage and had cerebral palsy and was very, very tiny. So this is the gang that I'm taking care of right then. I understand where these girls were as good members of the church, but trying to find their autonomy and also getting paid lots and lots of money. They have fallen into the trap of thinking that what they're doing is empowering women, but it's really not. It's really not. But I get where they're coming from. Now, one of the things that I want to talk about, I want to show you a little clip here. Let's show you another little clip.
I love it. All right, so we do have a new lady in the mix, Miranda. Hello, hello, hello. Obviously, there's a history with you and Taylor and the soft swinging scandal. I want to know, what was your biggest fear joining the show this season?
Obviously, like there was so much to unpack.
Yes, there was a lot to unpack. But as these women are sitting there from my generation, okay, I can only go by from my generation and my over almost 60 years of being a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, also known as the Mormon Church. That's what it was known when I was a member before Russell Nelson decided to become Methodist. But regardless, every single article of clothing that those women are wearing was not authorized by the church. So of course, women in my age are like, what? Wait, what? You have a what? So that's confusing. I love the fact that they love being a mother. I love that. And I loved being a mother. I mean, I have 6 children. I would have had more if my youngest wouldn't have been severely disabled. I get the biology of how old they are. They're in their nurturing motherhood years. You have your maiden, your mother, your crone, and they're in their mother years. And biologically, their hormones are telling them you should have babies. You should have babies. And they are. And that's very typical Mormon. They're also, I want you to know, in a bubble. Not only are they in Mormon land, they're in the middle, the apex of Mormon land. Okay. They are in the eye of the storm when it comes to Mormon land in Provo, Utah. What they're doing is definitely outside the box. Okay. I have compassion for them. I didn't have compassion for them before, but I do now. However, I want to bring something else out. Now, I love Chris Hedges, and he recently did an interview with Masha. But at the very end, they were talking, of course, they're talking about Gaza and Palestine and the Zionist movement. But he said something that I thought was very telling, and it could be applied to many things. So let me play that for you. Hopefully you'll be able to hear it.
And he describes another incident where some German Wehrmacht general is talking to Speer, and Speer says, "I'd like to go see what's happening in the East sometime." And the general said, "Whatever you do, don't go to the East." And Speer said, "I never asked why." Now the difference is that there was no alternative media. There was no YouTube, TikTok, there was no Chris Hedges, there was no Glenn Greenwald, there was no Matt Taibbi, there was no Aaron Mattei, there was no Amy Goodman. There was just the mainstream media. Now there are, at least for now, all these alternative sources. People have a lot less excuse not to know now than they ever did in Nazi Germany.
He's very brilliant. And what he's saying is there is no excuse nowadays to not know what's going on. In my day growing up, there was no internet. There was no social media. My children did not have cell phones. They did not have video games. Okay. That picture is in 1986. And I think we finally got some kind of what did we get? We got some kind of a very basic video game, but that's not how my children were raised. We did not have access to the information that we have now. So when I started hearing some historical truths of the Mormon Church, I was able to make a decision that I felt was right for me because of the information that has been released into the world. Okay. These girls have access to that information. There is no longer an excuse not to know the historical truths of the Mormon Church. They have 4 children. They have an empire that they're running. They're very busy. And I will give them grace for that. But when in one of the episodes, someone said to JC, I think, do you believe the Book of Mormon? And she said, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, they didn't have video cameras then. And I thought, no, girlfriend, there's more to it than that. This is not a biblical question. We're not asking, do you believe the Bible is true? Nobody was videotaping Jesus on the Mount. There's more to the Book of Mormon than nobody recording, because there is historical knowledge on where the Book of Mormon came from, when, dates, time, people, blah, blah, blah. There's really no excuse nowadays with podcasts. You can get in your car, you can listen while you're driving your kids places. There's so many ways for you to find out truth and gain knowledge on the history of the Mormon church. Now, if you choose to do that and you choose to continue to believe, even with the historical truths, that's your choice. I mean, I know it's comfortable. And a lot of people stay in the church for the community and for the fact that they live in Provo, Utah. There's no way to get out. I don't know. There is no excuse. And I love what this gentleman said, and I wish I could remember his name. Guys, I have to tell you, I've been trying to put this podcast together again for weeks. But the truth is, we have been traveling like crazy. We have grandchildren that are graduating from high school. We've gone to a few events. And the worst part of all is that we have put our home on the market. And if any of you have ever put your home on the market, getting your house ready to sell and getting it ready to show is one of the most stressful things in the world. It has been absolutely horrendous. And every time I thought, okay, today I can do my podcast, I would get a call from the real estate agent, or we would have to go and sign some papers or something. So it's just been absolutely crazy. So I've been putting this together for a long time. So a lot of the information that I had is now gone, but I was determined to put it together today because I know that it is a fast moving information age, especially in our political world right now. What was news yesterday or 5 minutes ago is gone. And the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, done. Everybody's watched all the episodes. We've moved on to the Lori Vallow trial that's going on right now, or we've moved on politically to Elon and Trump's boy fight, or we've moved into the riots going on in LA, if you want to call it that. Whatever. We've moved on because that's how the world is nowadays. That's my thing, is like trying to put this together. But okay, I want to show you this because I thought this is funny. Listen to this.
What state has the most plastic surgery per capita?
I feel like it can't be the obvious one, right? I have to say California.
No.
Fuck, what is it? Like,
what state has the most plastic surgeries per capita?
Oh, give me a break. That's Cali.
No.
Come on, you're lying. Per capita, though. Per capita. Still gotta be California.
No.
Okay, I'm going to speed it up a little bit till we get to the end.
Okay, everyone's going to say California. Everyone said California.
Lots.
And this is why you're putting me at the end of the video with the correct answer, Nevada.
No, that same thing Brandon said too. The answer is Utah. In 2007, there were 6 plastic surgeons for every 10,000 people in Utah. That number now has ballooned up to 13 per every 10,000 people, which has earned Salt Lake City, not Miami, not Los Angeles, not New York, as the title for the vainest city in America.
Now that says a lot. That says a lot. I mean, say what you will. The fact that Utah has the most plastic surgeries per capita is very telling. And I want to talk about that because I think that plays into what we're talking about. This is a picture of Demi. This is before, this is after. I'm not a plastic surgeon expert, but I'm going to guess she's had a nose job. I believe she's had some things done with her teeth. This is why I think I can't tell these girls apart. Okay, this is JC, I think. I can't tell those two apart. I mean, I have to look at the screen every time they come on, but look at her before picture. Now, this might just be an angle. Obviously, she's had some lip injections, but she's had some dental work done. And so she looks completely different. And those two, Demi and JC, I can't tell them apart. They look exactly the same. A lot of it's their hair. And I want to talk to you about their hair. Now, Demi, in the very last episode of the season, it's Christmas, the Christmas tree. She's got on this beautiful dress and her hair is parted on the side. She looks completely different. I mean, I cannot believe how much different a person looks because of their part. And even Michaela, when she came in, said, I don't even recognize you. You look completely different. Okay, this is Macy. Now, I think Macy looks the same. I think this is just a different angle, but I think maybe she's had a little bit, no, I don't know. Even her dental work looks the same, but yeah, she looks pretty much the same. Okay. So this is little Jen. Now, what do you think? Nose? I don't know. This could just be an angle too. Obviously, her hair color is not as dark as it was. I think these girls have had a lot of work done and they're so young. And I'm not judging them for that. I really am not, because I am all for doing whatever you can do to make yourself feel better. Okay. I love my Botox. I absolutely love it. I will not give it up. I will collect cans on the street to pay for my Botox. I absolutely love it. Okay. And if I could afford $150,000 for a facelift, I'd be on my way down to San Diego with Dr. What's his name? He's like $150,000 for like a complete facelift. And it's like, well, that's never going to happen. So whatever. And I think he's the best. So anyway, hey, so there you go. It's all in being able to afford it, right? But the biggest thing is this one in particular. I want to talk about Demi, okay? Because the reason I want to talk about her, I have a friend, and I'm not going to tell you who it is. You wouldn't know anyway. But she is in the know, okay? And she does not want her name divulged because she's a good person and she has a large family. And when you live in Utah, you might as well live in Mayberry, okay? I swear. I don't know what the size of Salt Lake is, but it's not a small little town, okay? But it acts like a small little town. Everybody's related to everybody. Everybody's intermarried. Everybody's the cousin of so-and-so. There's this royalty that is passed down. And so she knows a lot about this family. This is not a nice girl. She is not a nice girl. What came out this season was her desire to be the queen bee. And even Leanne said that, Taylor's mom. And it wasn't comfortable to watch. It was very uncomfortable to watch. And it was worse than the Housewives, I think, because of their age for me. I mean, I stopped watching the Housewives because of all of this, cat fighting. But to watch her, and when was it Whitney? Who was it that came out and said and divulged that when it came time to contracts, Demi had tried to get rid of her best friend, JC? She actually was going to throw her under the bus so that she could get a bigger contract. And that's scary. Now, here's the other thing. Michaela, everyone seems to like Michaela. I think because she might be the youngest. I don't remember how old Miranda was, but Michaela's young. She's only like 24, 25. She's pregnant again. But I saw her as the mean girl this time. And on the episode called The Bake Off, the way she was talking about hating Whitney, and she was going to do everything she could to beat Whitney. And it was really it was really hard to watch. I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. It's like, if you're going to talk about empowering women, you can't talk about your sourdough bread and your apple pie and everything that you're going to enter this contest 50 times so that in one way or another, you're going to beat Whitney. I mean, that's not empowering women. That's the crap that we get blamed for all the time, right? Now, that was hard to watch too. So that's where these poor girls, they all need therapy. They all need therapy. And I think Michaela is the one that's actually getting therapy from Natasha, who is fabulous. So it's confusing to see young girls who are not completely, their brains are not, their frontal cortex is not completely matured. They got a lot of kids. They've got a lot of pressure. Poor little Jen, what she's going through right now is apropos for where she lives and for the beliefs that have been indoctrinated into her. I think my main thing today is when we talk about women being empowered, we've got to get past the shame. And I think she's trying to do a good job. She's like right out there. She's like, whatever. So she's trying to get through it. But then she has her loved ones that are throwing it back in her face. And I just feel so badly for her. I wish there was someone that would, more than therapy, almost take her by the hand and walk her through a few days with someone right there by her side. So let's see if there was anything else that I wanted to talk about. This is their beginning. Let me add this.
Anyone that comes in at this point is clout chasing. What the hell?
Is that Miranda?
Oh my God.
Miranda is Taylor's ex-best friend.
I'm going to set the record straight on the swinging scandal.
Oh, no! Oopsies. It's gonna get messy, for sure.
How is everything going with Dakota?
Things are just getting worse. I do worry about Dakota's sobriety.
All I've wanted is a family.
Things for Zach and I have been pretty rocky.
This is our marriage. This isn't a game.
I think this is going to be a little intense.
You announced we were swingers to the whole universe.
What'd you do?
No one had sex ever, period.
What the?
Who's lying to us?
Hey, don't touch my wife.
Oh, this is crazy. He's a psychopath.
The police are here.
Mom talk is turning on each other left and right.
Things went down in Italy at Vanderpump Villa.
She has a cease and desist to keep her from talking about it.
If she comes at me, I will absolutely dominate her.
Okay, that comment right there, that's what's going on right now with Demi, is this, if she comes after me. And I don't know what's going to happen next season with Demi and all of the truth that's coming out. And I don't watch Vanderpump anymore. I watched it years ago, but I don't know. There's too much going on the television right now. How many of you have watched Hacks? Okay, watch Hacks. Watch Gene Smart. It is a fabulous show. Okay, I'm going to give you a recommendation. So that's all we're going to talk about today. My main thing, let me show a little bit more with Tim Fletcher, because but I would encourage you to look for him, find him.
Is deep down going on inside of a person with a victim mentality. We need to do to take care of ourselves. What do we need to do to be healthy, to treat ourselves with respect, to have our needs met right now? Whereas self-pity goes to, I don't have choices, poor me, this life sucks and there's nothing I can do about it. Self-compassion validates the pain, but knows that it can then take steps towards a healthier situation and a healthier me.
Okay, so that's where Taylor's at right now. She's playing the victim and she's wallowing in self-pity because her life is out of control and she doesn't know how to take that control back. And then her family's shaming her, which she's already shaming herself, but she's trying really hard because she doesn't understand that she still has choices. And that's what's important.
So, next thing, as a tool, if you've been prone to victim mentality in the past and you're in a sucky situation right now, make a commitment to yourself not to brag about your situation to others, not to try and get attention from others.
That is exactly what Taylor is doing. She is telling everyone about her horrible life. She is begging for people to listen to her so that she can tell everyone what a victim she is. And that's one of the main things that he says, stop doing that. Don't do it. Don't even talk to yourself about it.
For sympathy because of your bad situation. Now, you may not have to do that for the rest of your life, but for now, I would suggest that you just make sure you don't head down the road of trying to get pity from others. And then take action. Do something.
Do something. And I'm going to leave it right there. Taylor is not doing anything. It goes back to the old saying, continuing to do the same thing and expecting different results is the definition of crazy. And that she's doing the same thing with Dakota, with someone new, with whoever. And then she doesn't know how to get off this hamster wheel. So she's talking to other people. And if they will feel badly for her, if they will sympathize with her, and she's the victim and they will acknowledge her as the victim like her mother is doing, then she at least feels better about herself. But she doesn't understand that she doesn't need that from other people. She needs that from herself. My ending of this podcast about the secret lives of Mormon wives is to remember that you do have control. You do have control, and you need to take back that control, get out of the system, seek help. If it's something that is overpowering for you, then you need someone to walk beside you and help you with that. So I hope this has been fun for you. We're not going to talk about the secret lives anymore, right? We're done. Okay. I think we're done. So I appreciate you being patient and hanging out while I was trying to figure out how I was going to get a podcast in between getting my house ready to sell and all the other horrible things that are going on. So thanks for joining me on She Became Visible. What a great example of how to become visible. And playing the victim is not becoming visible. It's being the strong person that takes back their own power and throws off the cape of shame that's been placed on you by someone else. So thanks for joining me today. We'll see you again hopefully next week. Depends on if we have another house showing. Goodbye.